All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going through an iterative set of payroll system programs, mainly, to try to teach you Java based off of our PDF, which is there we go, come on. Exceptions and, I'm sorry, that's the next chapter. Starting out with Java from Control Structures through Objects, 6th edition by Tony Gaddis. All right. Okay. So far, we've done 3 different videos for this particular program. The first video explained what we were going to do. The second video, we created the interface. The third video, we created our payroll class. In this video, I'm going to create the hourly employee class. Then we'll have a commission, then a salaried, then a piece worker, and then we'll come back and try to do the driver class. So I envision that there will be about 8 or so videos in here in this particular section. All right, so we've got our public class extends hourly. All right. Now, one thing that we want to do, not only do we want to extend payroll here, not extend hourly, extends payroll, but we also want to implement, all right, we want to implement iPayroll. Why? Because that's going to allow us to come in and use those constants, all right, that we put into here. And think about it, an hourly employee will need what? Basically everything that's in here. All right, then we will do the commission, then we will do the salary, then we will do the piece worker. All right, hopefully that's making at least some sense to you. All right, so let's start here, and like we did in payroll here, I'm going to start by coming in, and before I even do that, let's put in our comments. All right, so begin public class, yeah. All right, the variables defined for this class will be common to only employees of type hourly. All right, so we will add what? Well, 2 of them. So these are instance variables, so declare instance variables. All right, so we'll have private double hours worked and private double hourly rate. Let's put our comments in as we have been doing because we're good little programmers. So this will be actual hourly employee hours worked and hourly employee hourly rate. Okay. Let's also add a decimal format pattern. All right. And we can actually add 2 of them. We've done this before, so let's say patterns. So decimal format, that's going to be red. Okay, we'll fix that in a minute. And we'll call this pattern 1 equals new decimal format. You've seen this many times before. The first one will, let's say, not have the dollar sign. Pound, 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 0.00. right, and our second one, which will be pattern 2, will have the dollar sign. All right, so remember to fix that. We can take our mouse, put it over here, click, do an Alt-Enter, import class, and there's our import line that was added for us, which fixed this. All right, that's the first thing. The next thing that we want to do is we want to come in here and we want to set up our constructor. I am purposely keeping this simple, so I'm not going to put in a lot of overloaded constructors. So we'll call this our hourly employee constructor. What you should notice is as soon as I put that in, this red here should go out, should leave. So public, hourly, and you notice it's gone. It says there is no default constructor available. Well, hopefully there will be when we get done. And we're going to put in here string and our first name, string, our last name, string, our social security number, and it's going to look a little weird for a second, but just hold on, please. Double hours worked, double hourly rate. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to come in here, begin, oops, let's begin, and then I want to add the same comment at the bottom. All right, so I gotta move that over. There we go. All right, so why am I getting this? There is no default constructor available. Well, that's interesting. I don't know why I would be getting that error, but let's just go on. How about that? So, we're going to call set hours. In fact, before we even do that, I'll leave it like this. I'm going to put my mouse down here. I want to check my notes here. And I'm hoping that somehow this is going to work its way out and is going to be correct. So it extends payroll, it implements iPayroll, that's good. All right, but I'm getting this message, there is no default constructor available. And I don't know why I would need one. So, let me come in and as I did before, let me add this. And I'm going to now come in and put in my getters and setters, so I'm going to put that right here. So I'm going to do a code generate getters, and I want them both. So I want hours and hourly rate, not the patterns, of course. Okay. So again, let me put some space in here. All right. And do one more code generate my setters, and again just hours worked and hourly rate. All right, let's fix these up, pretty these up. All right, and when we get done with that, we're going to have to do our earnings, okay, and our toString. We're going to have to override both of those. So I'm hoping that eventually that error goes away. I have not seen that error before, but we'll see as we go on, okay? So bear with me if you would, please, as I pretty this up. And as we did before, this now becomes hours worked getter, hourly rate getter, there. Okay, those are my getters. So then I want to do my setters. We will again put some validation in here in just a couple minutes. So again, as always, if you please bear with me. All right. This will be the hours worked setter. And this next one will be the hourly rate setter. In just a couple minutes, when I hopefully get this up and working again, and those errors hopefully go away. All right. We will write the, we will override the earnings, plus we will also put in the toString. So let me put that in. And for now, I'm just going to return the empty string just so that I won't have an error there. That's all. So I'll have to I will make a bunch of changes in that in just a bit. All right. So I do want to put in some checks in here and in here. And I'm going to do this a little bit differently. All right, what I did in the past is I checked, and I did something like I could make a check here to say, if it's within range, accept it, otherwise set it equal to 0. But I want to begin to introduce exception handling to you. So what I'm going to do in here, all right, in fact, I'm just going to call this HR for hourly rate, and I'm going to call this HW for hours worked. And that'll be HW, and that would be HR. All right, and that's fine. But I'm going to make a bunch of changes here. So I'm going to change this. I'll leave this in here. In fact, I will comment that out because that's what the system gave us. And I'm going to override it with my own. So I'm going to say if the hours worked is less than min hours, and notice it recognizes min hours, which was defined, that was defined in our interface file, or hours worked is greater than max hours. All right, so if either one of those are true, now again, in the past, what I did, if that was the case, is I just reset it to 0 or something like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a new illegal argument exception. And I'm going to say hours worked must be between, and I'm going to put this on multiple lines just so you can read it, min hours and max hours. So if we put in something that's either less than 0 or greater than 84, I should have a message come up on the screen. that basically says that isn't cool, for lack of better words. All right? Now, if that happens, I lose control of the program right here. I'm not going to go down to the next line after the end of this. Okay? So, what I can do is I can throw that. So if it's out of range, I can throw that. All right? But I can decide, the other thing I want to do is I want to just set hours worked equal to 0.0 because it was illegal what I put in there. So if it's out of range, reset it to 0 and throw an exception. All right? But whether it's out of range or not out of range, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. I'm just going to say here, this dot hours worked equals HW. Okay? And then I'm basically going to replicate this. So I'm going to put it down here. And where I've got this will have to be all changed to HRs. All right, and these will all have to be changed, of course, to rate. Why can't it find? I think I called it H rate. And I did, or didn't I? Okay. Oh, I call that R. That should have been H rate. There we go. Which should fix this one. There it goes. And this is max H rate. If I make, doing all this copy and paste, it's my responsibility to fix the comments. So again, that's also min H rate and max H rate. All right. And this will be HR. And this will be hourly rate. All right. So the next thing I want to do is we can do the toString next. That's fine. So rather than this return, we're going to fix that in just a minute, but we'll say string, I'll just call it the string, equals the empty string. And the string plus equals, what did I put here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I'm going to get an error. Don't worry about that. We'll fix this in a minute. So we'll put in here hourly payroll object. We'll put a backslash n in there because that'll look a little nicer. Name. I'll need it or not, but backslash T maybe. plus, and we'll put in get first name plus a blank space plus get last name. That looks good. All right. So after the name, we'll put down hourly rate. Get hourly rate. And actually, that should have been here. This should be hours worked. Doesn't really matter the order in which you put them, but I'm just trying to be consistent with the way that I've set this up, that's all. All right, so hours worked, hourly rate, so this should be get hours worked. All right, and then finally, weekly pay plus formatter dot, oops, not formatter, pattern 2 dot format, and we're going to call earnings. All right. Now, I'm not done, of course. I still have to rewrite earnings, but even with that, when I get done, I want to take a couple minutes and go over all this and see if I can figure out that darn error. I am already at 22 minutes, so this will be a little bit longer, all right, just so you know, than the normal ones that I do. All right. Now, this isn't going to take very long, because what I want to say here is if get hours worked, no, not the hourly rate, if get hours worked, if that's less than or equal to our max non-OT, well, we know they have no overtime coming. You've seen this before. All right, so we want to return get hours worked times get hourly rate. Straight time. That's not what I wanted. That actually should go here and here. And this should go here and there. There we go. All right, so that'll handle that. So this is no overtime earnings calculation. All right, and let's see. So I'll want to return that. Got a return statement there. It says missing return statement. I'm not sure why, but it does. But we're going to put an else here. And we've got to do our kind of long. All right, so we want to return max non-OT times get hourly rate. This is their straight time. All right. So we've got that. Plus get hours worked minus max non-OT. Remember, that's just 40. times get hours, get hourly rate, times the overtime rate. All right, so that'll be our overtime calculation. So, not real long, it's about 100 lines, and I've got to fix this, but we'll look at that in a moment. All right, so what do we have in here? Well, we added our import for our decimal formatter. All right, public class hourly extends payroll, implements iPayroll, so we're extending our payroll class. All right, so everything that's public in here, we now have access to. Everything that's private in here, we can now access using our public methods. All right, so begin this, the variables defined here. So these are the variables, our instance variables, because each hourly employee will have an hours worked and an hourly rate. There's our decimal format patterns. Here is our, it says there is no default constructor available. And that says to me that the error is here. String, string, string. String, string, string. Double, double. Not sure what the problem is, but I'm just going to go on. So we've got our typical getters. So we're getting the hours worked, getting the hourly rate. We've got our typical setters, but instead of just resetting it, we're going to also throw an exception, which will probably stop the program, and that's okay. We'll talk about more about exceptions in the next chapter. Same thing with hourly rate. We've overridden our toString method, and we have now also we need to say here, what is it? At override, because we are overriding that. Did that get rid of our error? No, it did not. So it says there is no default constructor available. So I'm going to have to investigate that particular error. Java error. There is no constructor available. Because there is no default constructor available in this, as the compiler message indicates. Once you define a constructor in a class, the default constructor is not included. If you define any constructor, you must define all constructors. Well, it's interesting because I did not do that. But what I may have to do here is this. Okay? Oh, first of all, I didn't do anything in the constructor. Okay? That's not good. So let's go back and look at what we have to actually do in the constructor. So I'm going to say here super fn ln ssn. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Notice my error is gone. Hello. And then I want to say set hours worked, and I'm going to pass in there HW, and set hourly rate, and I'm going to pass in there HR. Now, why didn't this work before? Well, right now, this, remember, did not understand first name, last name, or social security number because they were defined up above. So this call to super said, I am supposed to call the constructor of the parent. Remember, the parent of hourly is payroll, which is expecting 3 strings, which I am now passing to it. Then I can do my set hours worked and my set hourly rate. All right, so I should be okay now. And that finishes up the hourly payroll. So again, I'm going to do a file, save all. Now what I really should be doing here is not doing this the way that I'm doing it. In other words, I should have a driver. I should create my driver now and try to create an hourly employee and see if this works. So I think what I'm going to do next is just that. I'm going to go a little bit off script, so to speak, and I'm going to start creating my driver class. So that means I have to come in here, new, Java class, payroll driver, all right. Oops. And I will do that in the next video. If I can do that in just a couple minutes. Let's try it. Let's come in here and say hourly. All right. And we'll call this, I don't know, Jeff equals new hourly. Remember what it's expecting. A first name, a last name, a social security number, not my social security number, an hours worked, and an hourly rate. All right, so I've got all that stuff. And let's, after we do this, let's put in here system.out.println. Figure out why would I get that error? Cannot resolve symbol print line. Oh, yes, hello. Let's get rid of these. You should already know what the error is. PSVM. Okay, I want to put that into a main. Now we're okay. Well, still is giving me an error, but oh, because I don't have it in there. I've got to have it within the curlies. There we go. Okay, semicolon. Let's add this. All right. And I'm just going to say here, Jeff. Hopefully that won't give me any error. Now, if this works, we should see some output. So let's do a file, save all. And let's do a run, and we want to run our payroll driver. I might have errors in here. It sure wouldn't be the first time that's happened to me. All right, Jeff Scott, hours work 40, hourly rate 25, weekly pay 1,000. Fantastic. You can see I need some line breaks in here, but that's okay. All right. In fact, let's go back in there and fix those. There's our toString. And I just forgot my backslash ends. In fact, let's be consistent here. Let's put them at the beginning every time. All right. We'll do again a file, save all. Let's clear this. And let's do a run. Now we can tell it to run our driver. And the information, there it is. Hourly payroll object, Jeff Scott, 40, 25, and 1,000. All right. It looks like I do need, it would be nice at least to put here, let's put a couple, another backslash T there, and we'll put a backslash, whoops, that wasn't good, backslash T. I don't want to get too caught up in what I consider this stuff here to be, and that is that basically what it is it's a lot of, I'm being aesthetic now. Okay, so what I'm doing isn't that important, but I'm just trying to pretty it up a little bit. All right, so name, so I need one more on there and one more on here. One more file, save all. One more run, payroll driver. This should look real nice now. There we go. Name Jeff Scott, hours worked 40, hourly rate 25. I notice on these I didn't use my pattern, so I'll change that in a minute. And the pay. So this should be, hours worked should be pattern 1.format and a paren here. This should be pattern 2.format with a paren here. And hopefully that'll fix it, and hopefully I'm done now with this one. Save all, run. In fact, let's clear this. Run payroll driver. All right, so now hours worked, hourly rate, etc. You can see it's looking very nice. All right, I can come in if I want to and use a J option pane, etc. I'm just doing it simplistically. All right. So the next thing I'll want to do, this is a terrific start. All right. So the next thing in here that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to, now that I've created my hourly employee. All right. The next thing I'm going to want to do is come in here and do my commission employee. All right, and I'm going to do that from scratch. So I'm going to, again, right mouse click on here, new, Java class, commission. All right. That's not what I want. Now there's no errors, but as soon as we say extends payroll, all right, we start to get an error. Implements iPayroll, we get another error. There's actually two errors in here now. We will put in that abstract method. We will do all that good stuff in just a couple minutes.